thank you for joining us for another Talks at Google event. We're lucky enough to be joined today with Meb Keflezighi. Meb is, of course, a man who needs no introduction. Shortly after emigrating to the United States in 1987, Meb discovered he was a natural-born runner, and the rest, as they say, is history. He's won more than 20 national titles. You're the former American record holder in the 10,000 meter. You're the only runner in history, American or otherwise, to have won Boston, New York, and an Olympic medal. Right. And you're the founder of the MEB Foundation, a nonprofit which funds programs that promote fitness and other positive lifestyle choices for children. So without further ado, let's talk to Meb.
Thanks, Jason.
So thanks again for joining us today. Congratulations on another top 10 performance on Monday in Boston. I know, though, that the race didn't go exactly how you'd hoped, especially that last 5K. You've had a couple days to think about it now. Do you have any thoughts about the race? I know people have asked you a lot about this.
Yeah, most definitely. It's a great honor to be here at Google, and thanks for the opportunity. It was a great honor to represent the United States over my career, but especially last year to be able to win the Boston Marathon on the most important day of on Monday after the bombing of 2013 to help expedite the healing process of the millions that got affected, and unfortunately can't get the lives back that we lost. But I tried to do something really positive. That was my goal. And this year going into the 2015 Boston, my whole goal was just make it through over Heartbreak Hill in the last 2 miles actually, and everything will play itself. Use the support of the crowd, and the race unfolded the way I anticipated it would, and stayed in the. And it was really windy, so I tucked in behind and do crazy moves. So a lot of people were doing sprint slow, and I was in the back just kind of taking mental note who's doing that, and I was gonna come to hunt them at the end. So I was looking forward to the crowd and to the last mile and a half, and unfortunately with about 3 miles to go, I had an upset stomach. I know you guys started eating lunch. It's not a good scenery for it, but I have to stop 5 times and in between, and I was trying to close the gap, because they made the move and the fluid wouldn't go down as I was trying to sprint and stop 5 times, and basically just says I didn't have the opportunity that I was kind of anticipating the last mile and a half to use the crowd to help me propel me forward to go to Boston, stay for another, try to defend the title. But sometimes you don't always get what you want or what you desire. You just gotta finish the task of what's ahead and what is there for you. You seize the moment, and for me, it's just to come across the finish line in 8th place is as Jason said, top 10. Anytime you finish at the World Major Marathon top 10, it's a great honor, and I feel strong, and I was able to see a spot one of the elite women that was running, and she made me work hard. I have to sprint really hard, and I just got right before from here probably to the exit sign there. I caught up to her and raised her hand to say, hey, we did it together, and it was a great finish and represented the United States.
So after Boston, we appreciate you coming up to New York here to join us. I know you're based in California. You went to UCLA, and then you were based in Mammoth Lakes, and now San Diego. But you seem to have very strong ties to New York. You've run the New York Marathon 9 times. You've been top 10 7 of those times, and you won it in 2009, famously. You've run the New York Half several times. You've run even 10Ks in Central Park a few times. What is it that keeps bringing you back to New York?
New York is my second home here, because I've run many competitions, anywhere from the 8K to the 10K, Healthy Kidney Half Marathon. In fact, I was runner-up in the inaugural half marathon in 2005, when it was in August, when it was hot and humid, and they changed it to a tune-up for the spring marathon. So the New York Road Runners do a great job. My first marathon was here in 2002, where I went for the win. And it was cold and chilly morning and 38 degrees. The water's outside, and while you get 19 miles, you kind of get a little bit maybe warm. And I'm like, I threw my beanie away, my gloves away, and put water over my head, and that kind of shut the engine off. And I was doing really nice rhythm, running like this, start doing like stomping, and it was four. I got it down to 4 people. I said, best scenario, I think I could still win. And worst scenario, I got 4th place, and I got slower and slower. And the qualifying time for the Olympics in 2000, for the 2004 was 2:12, sub 2:12, and I ran 2:12:35. Missed it by 35 seconds, but I always tell New York City Marathon, the first time I did it, got my PhD. I learned a lot, what to do, what not to do. And, so since then it's been kind of like the relationship that I have with the New Yorker runners who put on amazing events. And I just keep coming back. And as Jason said, I done it 9 times, 7 times. I've been on the top 10. And, it's people dream to come to New York just to visit, and we have the privilege to run those cities close and do our scenic through the 5 boroughs and be able to come finish in Central Park is, really honored. And the streets are closed because I can't even get a taxi for 45 minutes sometimes. So it's an honor to be in New York and be able to, have that relationship with them and try to run the best that I can every time. And I've been, like you say, I won it. I've been 2nd place, been 3rd place, been 4th place, been 6th place twice. And the first time I did, I was in 9th place. So I struggled my first one, but I kind of loved. I did struggle. I mean, in fact, the first time I did the marathon, I said never again. It was bad. It was really bad. I couldn't even walk or squats or just. But at the same time, we do forget some things, and we want to do it again. I'm glad I didn't make it that my last. My mom was there first time she saw me run the marathon. Both my parents and my son. It's okay to do 5K, 10K, but no more marathons for you, because no mothers wants to see her son or daughter in pain, and I wasn't really in pain, but I got over it. And in fact, I was born in Eritrea, so I went and visited, and I understood how life in Eritrea is versus the United States, because you have to go 3 miles to get water out of the well, and you have to go 2-3 miles to get branches or bark from a tree to have fire to cook, to boil the water and things like that. So that made me realize the pain that I was going through in the last 4 or 5 miles was not that bad. So don't complain. So I wanted to come back. I said, Coach, I'm ready to do another marathon, and I want to do Boston. He's like, wait a minute, no, not yet. So through marathons, I have learned a lot.
Yeah, I think we're all grateful that you, in this instance, didn't listen to your mom, though I'm sure in most instances you did. So marathoning has taken you a lot of places, but as a child, soccer was actually your favorite sport, right? So how did you discover that you were talented at running?
I was born in Eritrea, where there was a war, and you didn't have the normal childhood. We didn't know what the next day brings, but the only fun thing probably we did was play soccer. In fact, it was a makeshift soccer. So like arm warmers or socks, long socks, you stuff it in with plastic, and you tie it and then do a second layer on it, and you sew it so you could have, when it's not like playing in a grass or nice smooth area, some rocks and dirt and all that stuff, barefoot, so the plastic would make it bounce up high. And that's how I played the soccer. And then eventually just said, came to Italy, lived in Italy for a year and a half. I was my brothers and sisters and my mom, we were separated from my dad for 5 years. He has to walk from Eritrea to Sudan, 225 miles in 7 days to save his life. Otherwise, he's going to get killed or imprisoned by the Ethiopian soldiers. And then went to Italy. Football is what's known there. I used to play football, and I got the nickname Pele. So that was my nickname, and I thought I'd be a professional soccer player. But then when we came to the United States in 1987, 2-3 years later, I heard my dad talk about my brothers doing soccer and running. The soccer coach wants them to play soccer year-round. The running coach wants them to run year-round. So there was a little bit favorism, who is going to play, who's not going to play. So my dad just said, choose one and do it well to my brother. And that's when I kind of let soccer go. I could control my own destiny. And running is beautiful because you get out of it what you put in it, and you start here, you finish there together. There's no stopping in between or judgmental thing. So it's whatever effort you put in. And I always say run to win. doesn't mean getting first place, but getting the best out of yourself each time and every time on the moment.
Great. So let's talk a little bit about the book, MEB for Mortals. So the elite running coach, Greg McMillan, he's called you the, quote, king of the little things. I don't know if you've heard that, but to some extent, this book is kind of about all the little things. Could you talk a little bit about what those little things really are and what you might expect to find in this book?
MEB for Mortals is a great honor to have Radio help me out with it, and Scott Douglas to write the book. And what it does is, people think you run 10 miles or 15 miles, oh, I got it. But to have the longevity and to have consistency, you have to do the small things that make a difference. Those are, people you say, go the extra mile. Really, you need to take that 1 mile less and emphasize on doing stretches before or after, doing the core exercise a little bit before or after, or doing the drills. And are they boring or kind of monotone at the same time? Sure. But those small things add up to be big things down the road. It keeps you injury-free. It helps you be stronger. If you're stronger, you're going to run more. You're going to be more efficient. So that's what MEB for Mortals discusses about. And, I don't like ice bath, but I used to sit in the ice bath for like 15 minutes every day, probably like 340, 330 days a year. And I used to shiver for like 4 or 5 hours afterward, and not fun, but I know they were essential to help me avoid injury, recover faster, so you could do it day in, day out, week in, week out, month in, month out, and do it for a long time over the years.
Okay, so it's about all the things that maybe a recreational runner's not doing between runs that would potentially help them to achieve at a higher level, stay healthy.
Yeah, most definitely. I mean, I can't ask everybody to be New York City champion or Boston champion or Olympic medalist, but you can use those principles to apply it to nutritionally, stretching-wise, core-wise, and training-wise to how it can help you be the best that you individual can be. And that's our, if you see it, and in the book, it shows a lot of illustration of what to do, what not to do. So if you can do that, it will help you be the best you can be.
Right. So you talk about being the best you can be, and some of the book is about setting good goals. That's a big part of the process. So you are, a couple weeks from turning 40. You've said that winning Boston last year, you don't seem it, by the way. Winning Boston last year has made your career 110% complete. So what are some of the goals you have for the next year? I mean, the trials are coming up. Can we expect a Masters marathon record?
Yeah, I mean, goals are increment, and you have to set them weekly and yearly and whatnot. But yes, the Boston Marathon was the capping of my running career, because it started with 7th grade PE class, trying to get an A, trying to earn a T-shirt. And who'd ever thought we'll have that all in between? And who would have ever thought that also that it would become on the biggest stage of the Boston Marathon? And the only thing that was missing in my resume was just the Boston title, and I was able to get that last year. So going forward, what my goal is in terms of running, hopefully do a full marathon, hopefully New York. And also the trials are in February, so if I could earn my spot top 3 to go to Rio, that would be my 4th Olympic team. So I'll, and be 41 to participate in it. It would be a huge honor. And why do I want to do that? 2 things. One is every time you get an opportunity to represent our country, it's a huge honor. And also, my daughters have 9, 7, and 5 years old daughters, and they were all in London. But the three, she was 3 at the time. The 5-year-old now, she does not remember what happened in London. So it'll be good for her to see if I can make the team and remember what her daddy did as an Olympian.
Right. And so an important part of this, especially for recreational runners, is setting kind of realistic goals. Mm-hmm. You alluded before to just missing out on the Olympic marathon team in Sydney by 35 seconds, but you did end up going to that games, right? And you competed in the 10,000 meters, correct?
So the missing in New York was for 2004. Sydney was my first Olympic in the 10K.
Oh, right, okay.
But I went to Chicago, setting goals, right? I wanted to break 2:12, and I ran 2:10:03, and it's probably the only time that I ever went farther than 26.2 because your body usually shuts down. But that day I was just running 2:12. I was very conservative and finished, and I went for a half-mile cool down, which is crazy after a marathon. But I made the 2004 team in the 10K, which I won the trials and set in the championship record. I was second in the trials to Alan Culpepper, and my times were probably more realistic to medal in the 10K than it was the marathon. But because of the history behind how marathon started, were from marathon out to Athens, what Phidippides ran, and to announce that they defeated the Persians as a Greece. And I couldn't turn it down just because of the historic moment of it. And the marathon is one of the prestigious events, and it was into the closing ceremony, even though my chances were, like I said, better to medal on the 10K with the American record and all that stuff. But Coach Larson, for a long time my mentor now, we decided, go for the marathon. The hills, the humidity, and the course will equalize everybody. So we went for that and came home with the silver medal.
Yeah. And so the 10K that I'm thinking of is the night of the finals your father said to you.
Oh, yeah.
He's always
Yeah.
pushed you, and he said, Meb, you're going to win tonight. And so this is, in terms of realistic goals, this is an example where run to win meant something different to you, right?
Absolutely, Jason. So my dad, in 2000, I made the Olympic team. I'm so excited to be on my first Olympic team, and my time was 28 minutes and 3 seconds, which is fast, but not fast enough to be a contender for the medal. So we were going to the stadium, and he goes, "You're going to win tonight." And I'm like, "Dad, I can't win tonight." He's like, "Don't think that way. You're going to win tonight." I'm like, "Dad, they've run 26:30. I have yet to break 28 minutes. And it's a minute and a half in between. That's more than a lap and a half almost on the track. So hopefully I won't get lapped." But hopefully one day I'll catch up, I'll close the gap, and hopefully be able to beat them. And that's all what happened. And so I finished 12th. I barely made the final. In fact, they had a prelim for the 10K. On Friday, Monday final, I broke 28 minutes on both occasions, and I was second to last guy to qualify because I had the flu that you get in the athletes village where everybody's there and gets, the downside of the athletes village is you get sick. And the flu that was going around, and I finished 12th overall. And in 2004, 4 years later, the guy, Paul Turgot from Kenya, who was second at the 10K to the greatest distance runner in my book, I think, Haile Gebrselassie, was running the marathon, and his best time at the Athens Olympics was 2 hours and 4 minutes and 55. My best time was 2:10:03. That's the most, if you look at it, almost a mile. The only way I could beat him was if I get a mile head start. But I know that was not possible. And basically, and I really did not think he was going to get beaten on that day. But everybody else, for silver or bronze, was fair game. But for him, I already almost handed it to him the gold. And so we've got 4 people going on through the race. I'm like, oh my gosh, if I could beat one person, I'm going to be a medalist. And then eventually I started him overstriding, making longer stride, and I decided to pick up the pace, and I'm getting away from him. I'm like, wow. The marathon, this was only my 4th marathon ever. So you're here to go into the good patches and the bad patches. So I'm like, he must be going to the bad patches. So I picked up the pace, got it down to 2 people, and there was Juan de Lima from Brazil in front of us. So like I said, I got my bronze medal, but I think I could get 2nd place, maybe going for gold. So I tell Stefano Boldini, which, remember, I used to live in Italy for a year and a half. I just told him, "Andiamo uno a due," which means, let's go get 1, 2. And he looked at me, he's like, how is this guy speaking Italian? In retrospect, I should have made that move then.
Yeah.
Kind of get him double shock. But, he looked at me, and we were taking leads, and we caught the Lima. And unfortunately, he was also the guy that got attacked. I don't know if you guys ever seen it. He got attacked in the middle of the race by ex-priest that was testifying that Sunday should be a rest day. But we did not see it happen because it happened on a turn. So I was able to beat Paul Turgot, who was silver medalist at the Olympic when I finished 12th. But eventually, 4 years later, my goal was to bring a medal for the United States. And I have to be the world record holder to do that. And he finished 8th. I finished 2nd.
That's amazing. And so I guess the moral there was just it took patience and more investment and time. And it's funny that Paul Chagat's the guy that you beat, because shortly before the 2000 Olympics, you sat down and had a conversation with Paul, right?
Correct. I mean, you have to be realistic. You have to make goals that are attainable. And I love crossing goals out. Make that goal attainable. Once you attain it, you can always reset it. Don't set it so high that you cannot reach it, or have a stepping stone toward that. And basically, that's what I did. And then I also met him in '98. First time, I said in Brussels, "Hey, Paul, I'd love to talk to you about it." And he took me around. Took me for a drink for tea, and Meb, you need to make small progress. I can tell you all my secrets of what the workouts that I have done, but you're at a different level, and it's humbling. And you're here, I'm here, so to get up here, you got to do small things, and that's what I pass that advice to everybody now, because if they ask me, people, what should I do, how many mileage, I have to know what you are doing, because I can't tell you to do this because I don't know what your background is. And sometimes you give advice and they come to hunt you, or sometimes you get advice and you be able to beat them.
That's right. You wrote a book for mortals.
It's an honor to write the book, and who would ever thought, for someone who didn't speak English coming in here, we didn't have anything, not finance, but the clothes on our back, and I love the support of my brothers and sisters and my parents, and to be able to be here at Google and to be able to talk about the MEB For Mortals, a book that I wrote, and it's just, I have to pinch myself sometimes. Is this real?
I do as well too. So you've mentioned a few times, and you often talk about running to win, and we know that's not always about coming in first. And for a lot of us, we may not ever win an Olympic medal. I think that's a real possibility that I'm starting to face in my own life. And from your own experience as someone who actually does win races, that it doesn't always mean winning. And I think probably the best example that I know of is at the London Olympics. And if you could talk a little bit about what your experience was there.
Run to win doesn't always mean getting first place, but getting the best out of yourself with the situation you're faced with and that moment. And, Monday, before even going to London, I ran my best that I can that day, and stopping 5 times, I could have said, you know what, I'm not defending my title. I could have stopped and then have the van pick me up, But when you start a project, you have to finish the project. I really believe that. And my parents have always encouraged the kids to do that. Start something, you must finish it. And in London, 2012, I didn't have the ideal training. Really, I had a really solid 5 weeks of training. And going to the race, I'm like, those guys going to go crazy fast, and then maybe I can pick up here and there little by little and finish maybe for the bronze, the only chance that I had. But about halfway through the race, people often ask me when I run marathons, do you enjoy the scenery? I'm like, not really. I'm just going by and trying to concentrate on what I'm doing, what others are doing, trying to get calculated decisions. So I don't really never enjoy the scenery. But in London, I'm like, this would be a good place to stop, because I was hurting pretty bad. I already had my Olympic medal. I was 21st place. I already have signed up for New York City Marathon, so don't do something crazy, injure yourself. But then I'm like, I'm representing the United States. I have the USA jersey on me, and ever since high school, San Diego High, UCLA, and World Championship Olympic team, you try to represent to the country the best you can. And when I made the Olympic team in January that year, 2012, I said, we're sending our best team. I hope we can represent our country really well. And I just said, you know what? No matter how many people pass me, I got to get to that finish line. That's goal number 1. And I said, I'm representing the United States. My girls are there. If I tell them, to do their best, and they're going to say, if I stop now, they're going to, was that your best? I'm going to get asked that question eventually when they get older. So I just said, you know what, get to that finish line, no matter what the circumstances or how many people pass you. And then I was closing the gap. I said, maybe I could be one person out of those, 8 people that I was running with. And the next thing is, maybe I could be 2, maybe I could be 3. So constantly changing. And then all of a sudden I was in 15th place, I was in 13th place. And then with 5K to go, my mentor Bob Larson was there, and he pointed out like this. So I was running next to the Japanese guy, and I can see him, and it's like 6th place. And I'm like, am I in sixth place or the Japanese guy's in sixth place? I need to clarify here. You didn't give me a clarification. And then I just said, so basically, and then I see a green jersey down the road with 2 miles to go, probably like 30-second, 40-second. I'm like, if that guy is in fourth place, this guy's in fifth place, I'm in sixth place, and that guy's in fourth place. For whatever reason, our sports is kind of tainted a little bit with drugs. So I'm like, if one of those guys get busted up in the front, and that guy's in fourth place, and finally it could be the Japanese guy, I'm going to be in fifth place. So if somebody get caught, that guy's going to move to bronze medal, and I'm going to move to fourth place. I said, I got to catch that guy. And I just dug deep, and there was with 1 kilometer to go, there was an American supporter or fan there, and he goes, you can get him 5 seconds. You can get him 5 seconds. I'm just like, okay. I give him a head nod. I'm like, I'm going to dig deep. And then there's a picture of us me passing him with 500 meters to go. So I'm in the front, the 500-meter sign, and then him in the back. And then I'm like, so it's not like the New York or the Boston Marathon where it's a big finish line. It's just like a little line like this. So I'm like, but there's a ton of people. I'm like, where's the finish line? Where's the finish line? I'm digging deep. I see the flag of our flag in the United States. I'm like, should I grab it? Should I not? But this guy's trying to catch me too, that I just passed. I'm like, I grabbed the flag. I wanted to run like this, but like he's right on my heels. I'm like, I tucked in like this, running. And then, I see like little lines start raising our flag above my head and finish fourth. So run to win doesn't mean get in first place, but I felt like I was a winner just because from potentially dropping out and not getting to the finish line, finishing fourth and passing all those people was one of the proudest moments, and dig deep beyond yourself for the country. So run to win doesn't always mean first place, but getting the best out of yourself each time, every time.
Yeah, to come back from one of those rough patches is some of the hardest thing that you can do. Anyone who's run a marathon knows that and can identify with that more than they can identify with last year in Boston, where you're leading the pack for pretty much the whole race. For mortals, for the inexperienced runners, one of the hardest things going into a race is picking a goal, some sort of one or more kind of pace or time goals, or maybe it's to finish. I imagine you sometimes struggle with what your goals need to be. I know that you've said, first goal is always to win, then the podium, then a personal best, but what are the workouts, what are the benchmarks that you have to know whether or not you're in shape to do a 208 or 210? Or do you have certain things that you go back to again and again to kind of evaluate where you're at?
Yeah, I mean, some people ask me, when you first meet somebody and you tell me you're a runner, it's like, how often do you run? I'm like, do you run every day? I'm like, well, I train 12 times a week. They're like, what? You run twice a day? And I'm like, yeah, that's what I do. And in those training, there's a long run, which for me, I cover as long as 28 miles in preparation. I've done 16 miles, 15-mile tempo run, which is about 5-minute pace. It's like that picture there. I was going that fast.
That's at 7,000?
That's at 7,000. I'm going about 5-minute pace, 12 miles an hour. And that captured that moment right there. So kind of hard work does pay off. And also intervals. So you do faster than race pace. So when I'm doing intervals, I'm going 13 miles an hour, faster than race pace. So you put all that together, gives you confidence that, faster than race pace, and longer than race pace. But the hardest part is to staying healthy, because I have the desire, motivation to push my body to the limit, and it got me in a lot of trouble in the past also. So now I expanded that training cycle 7 days a week to 9 days cycle. So you have 2 days in between recovery. So run hard, 2 days off, long run, 2 days off, and tempo long, and then 2 days off. And it seems to be working, but you just have to, the bread and butter for me is tempos and long run, but at the same time, it just depends what time you have available. Routine is important. Are you going to do it after work, or are you going to before work, and stick to it? If you can do that consistently, you will perform really well.
Right. So you talk about how kind of the really important thing is to stay healthy. You don't want to be the fittest spectator at your race, but So maybe you could walk us through what a typical warm-up before one of these hard workouts or a race would be for you. When do you start it? What kind of stuff do you do?
So most people don't know is that even if I'm running 5K, 10K, or half marathon, or full marathon, I always warm up 3 miles. So if you say you warm up before you run a marathon, but if you're gonna start 5-minute pace, 12 miles an hour, you have to do those. So I do, an hour before is what I do, what I start my warm up, and then 3 miles. Like if it's really cold, I break it up to 2 segments, mile and a half, stretch, do the drills, and then to keep warm, go another mile and a half. Otherwise, if it's Athens was hot and humid, then 7 minutes good enough, just to let the body know that you're ready to go at some kind of pace. So I do 8 strides and then do the drills, and then hopefully when the gun fires off, as elite runners, we never run our own race, because if 7 guys go, world record pace or faster than the course record, you have to make that decision. If you want a challenge for the win, you have to go. Not all of them will survive that pace, but 3 will survive, 4 will come back. So do you want to go for 4th place, or do you want to go for a win? Those are the decisions that are made mile 1 or mile 15 or mile 17 and all that. But Boston Marathon last year, I controlled and most of the race, and I ran my own race, and I made the move with, I was scared in Athens to make a move in Athens Olympics 2004, 5K to go. I'm like, that's a long way. Well, it's a long way, so it's only a 4th marathon, but on your 20th marathon, I went out really with 7-8 miles into the race, so 20 miles to go, 19 miles to go. I made that move, make it count, and made the gap. And then once I made the gap, the mantra was Boston strong. I'm gonna give a MEB strong. If I get caught, I'm okay with it. But I'm gonna run for the victims. I'm gonna run for Boston. I'm gonna run for the United States and the world. And the gap. If they're gonna catch me, they're gonna have to earn it. So you have those constant talks and whatnot. And I was able to hold them off. But experience plays big difference in training and also in competition.
Right. Yeah, that was an amazing win to watch. So a lot of us, yourself included, need to travel a lot. How do you stay on top of workouts and all this, stretching and core stuff? How do you stay on top of that when you're in unfamiliar cities and hotels, and maybe they don't have the right facilities? And
well, in terms of training, gotta have a watch that tells you what my Epson, and that's kind of tells me the distance. Because sometimes I used to do a lot of guesswork. Oh, I'm gonna go for an hour and 5 minutes. Is that 10 miles at 9.5? But now you can get pretty accurate. But the hardest thing is nutrition when you travel, because I have my routine. I like to have my toast, tea, and almond butter, peanut butter before I go run. But sometimes I'll just have, Generation You Can, which is one of my sponsors, or have a power bar, half a power bar in the hotel, have a little tea, and go out and come back and get it done. But the other important thing is routine. No, you have to sleep less. I mean, you want to get up an hour early, use that as almost as your caffeine, as your energy, or do you, go, especially when you guys travel with work, if you guys go with a group, some people are sleeping in and all that stuff, but you got to get up. For me, I like to get up in the morning, get it done, and get it over with. You don't have to think about it throughout the day, because what to eat, what to drink, and all that stuff, you're constantly thinking if you haven't done it in the morning. So, get it done in the morning.
Yeah. So all this focus on the things surrounding the runs themselves. You talk in the book about how it's not when you're running that you're actually getting into better shape. Could you talk about how maybe as an elite runner your approach to recovery differs from what the recreational crowd might be doing?
Famous and basketball coach John Wooden said, it's not what you do in practice, the 2 hours, but how you take care of yourself the next 22 hours. Sleeping, nutrition, therapy, and also icing or a massage, and all those things add up. They're doing the small things. So yeah, you can have a great workout and say, oh, that was a great 20-mile run or 5-mile run or 12-mile run, but you got to take care of yourself, and nutritionally is important. It's always good to graze throughout the day than having big meals and not feel good, and then have snacks around so you don't feel hungry. And I usually use a lot of, I have 5 fruits a day, as much as I can, and graze throughout the day instead of having big meals. But also just sleep is important, and hydration is important, and what you eat is also important. When I'm very disciplined, when everything is going well, I am really motivated. But as soon as if I get injured or something going wrong, I just throw the towel in terms of nutrition. That's when I need to be careful. But sometimes you let it loose, I guess.
Yeah, because you have a sweet tooth.
I do have a sweet tooth, and I had my banana nut when I was waiting. I got here a little early, so I had to spoil. And cheesecakes, strawberry cheesecake is one of my weakness. So I had that a couple of days ago. So when I stop, when I after marathons, I spoil myself. So even my girls, especially the 7-year-olds, are like, "Dad, you can't have sweets. You're in training." So, so in fact, she asked me, "Oh, I want to have a date with you on ice cream day because she did really good in school." And I'm like, when am I gonna have that date with her? Because I'm in training right now, and I can't have that date with her. But had a really nice date a couple of days ago, breakfast, and she had like the former world record holder come by, and we had our eggs and stuff. And they're like, "Well, if you want that ice cream, now you can have it." So, but yeah, you have to be very, very disciplined, because for me, I'll be 40 on May 5th, and I have to. I weigh myself every day. Is that cynical? Probably, but I have to see exactly where I need to be, because every pound, 2 pounds make a big difference.
Right. And so you've been running competitively for 25 years, something like that. It sounds like you've learned a lot over the course of that career. What's the one thing you wish you could go back and tell yourself 25 years ago?
I think as an elite athlete, 4 years in high school, 4 years in college, and 17 years as a professional. Yeah, it's 25 years that I've been running. As a professional, it's very difficult to take a day off. You need to work hard, but also if you feel something, you take rather a day off. And if I've done those, I could have saved a couple injuries myself. But we are so driven, type A personality, go, 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 and it's going to get warmed up after a couple miles, and then you dig in yourself a hole. So injury prevention, I think, is, what? If you take a day off, nothing will happen to you. You're probably going to do yourself a big favor than do harm if you try to run. So that's what I would tell myself.
That's a good advice.
I still need to apply it at times.
I'm nursing a hamstring strain now, so this is coming at perfect time for me. So
you'd rather just be one day late to come than one day early,
right,
and lead to more problems.
That's great advice. So I mentioned in the introduction about your foundation, the MEB Foundation. Could you tell us a little bit about that and maybe tell us how we could help?
When I was in 7th grade, that's how my God-given talent was discovered. The PE teacher said, if you will run hard, you're going to get A or B. If you mess around, go for a run, you're going to D or F. Well, I ran hard and on a PE class and ran 5:20. That's where my God-given talent.
In 7th grade.
In 7th grade, and to get the A and the teacher, you have to run 6 minutes and 15 seconds. So I ran, almost 50 seconds faster. And he said, you're going to be an Olympian, but when you don't speak English, you don't know what the Olympics are, or you never watched TV before. So it was an awkward moment, but but he was right. I'm still in touch with Coach Duclord, and I see him occasionally. It's like, I knew you were going to be doing it, And he called the high school coach, and he said, my two oldest brothers were running. This little one is really, really good. He's going to be in the Olympics. And then so due to that, because of budget cut with educations now, people are eliminating physical education class. But I think physical education class is good for the brain, it's good for academics, for well-balanced. So through the MEB Foundation, Maintain Excellent Balance, through health, education, and fitness, we need to give back to kids that have active lifestyle, because I think if you do that, it's going to help them set goals, hard work, perseverance, and also time management. And that can translate to academics, to work ethic and workforce, and also positive contributor to society. So I just hope to do those works to be able to, we had 11 or 12 people run the Boston Marathon on behalf of the MEB Foundation to raise money and give it to kids. Some schools, they just need advice and nutrition and work ethic and tell them to give a talk, but there are others that we have given about 7,000 or a pair of shoes to others to put a sneaker on and go for a run. And I never had that opportunity. I myself didn't have that. My parents couldn't afford to buy a pair of shoes. So the coach at Ramos used to provide that. So we want to help others to be able to exercise and, live an active lifestyle.
And maybe you'll train the next generation of Olympic superstars.
It would be an honor to be able to help others accomplish their dreams. For me, like you said earlier, Jason, I've been fortunate. Boston was the capping of my career. But I'm a competitive kind of guy. So I'm like, 2016 is around the corner. Might as well just, participate and see if I can earn a top 3 and to go to Rio. But after that is for me to help others. Help them realize their potential, and whether it's through motivational speaking or through coaching, and whether they want to break 5 hours for the marathon or 3 hours for the half, or it's just a way of life. I think sports has done an amazing journey for me, and I'm in a position to give back, and I want to do that.
Great, and so people are encouraged to obviously go look up the MEB Foundation and make donations.
Yeah, you can go to marathonmeb.com, and there's a link for that for the MEB Foundation.
Yeah, and if you can't find it, just use search engine to find it.
Guess what? I think you can Google it.
Great. I think we have some time. If people have questions they'd like to ask Meb, please go to one of the 2 microphones so that everyone can hear you. People seem excited. And you should feel free to call on people.
Yeah, we'll rotate, I guess. Go ahead.
Meb, thanks so much for being here, and thanks also for being someone that all of us average runners can relate to. Jason brought up the London situation. I know I always think about how you put the names of the victims on your bib that meant so much to so many people and to the people of Boston that day, and I just wanted to personally thank you for that. Fighting through injuries, all those things we all go through. I guess this is a question for us mortals, and that is, how would you recommend that us average runners approach the first half of a marathon? I like you, just ran on Monday, and for the 7th time, and I struggle every time at Boston and other marathons with falling apart in the second half of the race. Do you recommend negative splits, taking it slow the first 5K? What do you recommend for that approach?
What's your name?
Michael.
Michael. Thanks for the nice compliments. Appreciate it, and I try to be a good ambassador for the sport. But in terms of breaking the marathon, breaking the segments. So basically, life is about patience. Marathon's about patience. Running a marathon that day is to test you if you have the patience, meaning that any world record from 5K up to the marathon, it's all about even splits or slower, the first half. So for me, even Boston, if I was running by myself, I was even expenditure of energy. And I ran, I know it's going to sound fast, but 104.19, 104.18 with a challenging course of the Boston Marathon. So just what I did do is focus on the 13 miles. You'd rather be within yourself, well beyond, controlling yourself, feeling, oh, this is still easy for me. And then you rather just pick it up and finish stronger than say, you know what, because it's hard to do because you are so excited. There's so many people around you. You want to go, hey, I'm not going to let that person go. I'm not going to let that person get ahead of me. So the competitive you need to shut it down in almost your mind until the 13 miles, 15 miles. And after that, say, you know what, it's game time now. I'm going to be able to run faster and, try the negative split.
Cool. Thanks so much for the advice.
No problem, Michael.
Hi, I have a similar question on that. So you did touch upon the topic that it depends on the advice, kind of depends on where you are, and sometimes giving an advice can bite you back. Hey, I didn't know that enough about the person. So similarly, like you spaced out the zoning and the race. How do you say that, hey, you are at level this, and you're at level this, and you're at level this. Now you should do this next. Because you're, depending on your level, what you have already done, that's how your recovery should be, and that's how much icing, like 15 minutes every day, probably not so much if someone is running once in a year. So how do you give the advice depending on where the person is?
That's an excellent question. What's your name again?
Aditya.
What is it?
Aditya.
Aditya. The 15 minutes on the ice bath, that's like, on hard days, I would concentrate. You guys are busy, and I have to meet criteria. I have almost 24 hours of my profession to do the small details, take my time. But for you, it's like maybe stretching on the easy days, and maybe when you do long run, maybe once a week or every 2 weeks, you need to do ice bath. Or if you do your tempo run or race pace, you need to do ice bath, not every day. And in terms of setting goals, you have to be yourself and say, you know what, I just want to run 25 miles for the week. I want to do that 4 weeks in a row. And then once you can see yourself, if you do 4 weeks, you're going to get stronger. It's time for me to increase it by 2 miles. And I want to do that for 2-3 weeks. And then, say in 7 weeks or 9 weeks, I want to run 13 miles my long run. You started with 3-4 miles, but in 8 weeks, it's attainable. It's not undoable, but you got to be very careful to make the increments move a little bit versus, I'm going to do it. And Meb said this, you have to know yourself and consult with your coach and other people that you're around with to say, you know what, I want to achieve this, and how can I do that? And then if you put it in writing, you're going to achieve it just because it's positive enforcement. So I love doing my training log. I have a training log since '93. I'm like, this week I just want to put 50 miles a week. Like right now, I'm not running after the Boston Marathon. I'm debating when to run. I'd rather be one day too late than one day too early, you know? And then after that, it'd be 2-3 days a week I'll run every other day. And then after that, I say, my body's okay, I'm gonna try to run every day. And then slowly, maybe 35 miles a week. And then once you do that, you become strong enough to say, okay, I'm ready to step it up to another notch.
Thanks.
No problem, good luck.
Hi, Meb. Thanks for coming in today. I have a time management question. So obviously training takes a lot of time every day, and I know you have a family, 3 daughters. I always struggle with that, like having a child myself. Like either I would spend time with my child after work, which is like an investment in her future, or I would kind of, yeah, or I would like run or train or go to the gym and invest in myself. So I kind of feel it's a little bit, I know it's wrong at some point, but how do you manage that? Like, does your family support you in your effort? And like, what do you tell them when you like spend so much time training, which is a very good thing, but I mean, I would appreciate an advice on how do you make them understand that this is very important?
Well, I've been very fortunate to surround myself with a good team. So my brother is here, my wife, she gave up her career so I can have the career that I have, because as an athlete, it's limited time. So to be a parent, she's spending a lot of time with her, but sometimes I'll give her a break when I'm on break after a marathon or things like that, let her do her thing, and I will go to the park. Don't have to do that every day, but if you say, you know what, I'll meet you at the park after a run, bring the kids down, and then while you do your stretching and put them on the swing and spend time with them, that's going to be more valuable. And it depends how old the kid is, and sometimes I'll tell my wife here downstairs, don't worry about it. I'll get up early in the morning when I can, take them to school, bring them from school. I might do that for a week and a half when I'm in San Diego, whereas right now I can't do that. So, and so, Daddy, you traveling again? And I hear that a bit sometimes. So I said, yes, but I'll be back in 9 days, and I would love to do share your story, what you have been doing. I will catch up with you, and so you have to have a balance. I personally try to live by my name, maintain excellent balance, and you would love to be there for your family, your wife, your kids all the time, but at the same time, job gets in the way, training gets in the way, and travel gets in the way. So you try to make the most of it when you can, because those are profound times of kids' life.
That's true. I guess the good point is that you set an example for your kids to follow.
Yeah, when I take exercise, sometimes I tell my kids have a little disadvantage because, I tell my wife, bring them here if I'm doing criterium course, 2.5-mile loops. So every time I do that, they want to run with me. So, but they know that I'm going 6-minute pace on my recovery runs. So they hang out with me for 50 meters. I say, go, keep going so I can catch up to them, And then at the end, I will spend time with them doing strides or doing a run with them, whatever pace they want. And sometimes out of the bloom, they will ask you, Dad, can you run around the block with us? And if I'm at home, I'm like, as long as they ask, I'll do that for them. So just when they demand it, you got to be there for them. But and other times, just explain, sorry, but I have to travel, I have to do those. And they usually understand.
Thanks a lot.
No problem.
Hi, my name is Jesus. I did the New York Marathon last year and the year before. I did not do it officially, like I started before it officially started, but I managed to do it in first time 2 hours 15 minutes and the second time in 1 hour 57 minutes. I did it on a bike. And at that point I realized that you guys are superhumans. It was hard. We had like a really hard pace to keep on the bike and it was almost impossible. I mean, we had some traffic, but it was really hard. So I realized that doing it in like under 2 hours running, it's an accomplishment that is like out of this world. But have you ever had that goal in your head? And do you think it's going to happen sometime soon?
At least you have a perspective of what pace we're going.
Have you ever considered just using
Seriously,
a bike?
it's
No, I have people pace me for my training. I have people on the bike, so and I can catch most people going up hills on the bikes. I race against them, especially on trails, and they zoom down on me on the downhill, and I'm like, I know the course. There's another uphill coming, so I close the gap and then try to catch them again. But and I have people on my long run tempo and intervals. But is it possible to break the 2 hours? I think it is, as long as, unfortunately, like I said earlier, there's some people that have not done it clean sometimes that you hear, but the consistency from, before I started running was 2:04:55, and I was 2:02:38, I believe, that it's making it going down pretty drastically, and obviously it would be like Roger Bannister where he broke the 4 minute and then many people start doing it. Is it going to happen? I think it can happen, but as female use male pacers, we need you as male pacemakers on the bike and give us drinks whenever. And if people are concerned about winning, I have to beat that guy and that guy, you are by yourself, you're gonna slow down. But if you are not concerned when the rabbit's gonna slow down, you can get closer to 2 hours. So I say, hey, Jesus is my guy. I said, pick it up, let's surge. And somebody else has their own or whatever. They can, the reward for breaking it versus for getting second place, first place, and all that stuff. So if that happens, I think it can it happen when? Probably in our lifetime. I think it's going down pretty quickly. And we have a guy where I was born in Eritrea, the guy that ran 58:23, I believe, for the half marathon. So if someone like him that have the talent run 2 hours, that's a minute and a half. That's like 10 seconds per mile, slowing down just on a flat course. You need to go an hour and then run 59, 58. It can't be like, 59 and then go the other way around. But if you have to negative split it, and I think it can happen.
And have you had it as a goal in your life to do it?
I think it was Runner's World. They had an article what the criterion of that person would be and what height, what weight, and it kind of sounded like me. It really did. And but that was like 13, 14 years ago. So you need to be 27. And I really, it described a lot about what what I have done, what the training and what the height and all that stuff is, and the weight and all that. But no, it never been my goal. It's too late to think about that goal now. I'm just trying to stay healthy and get to that finish line. But yeah, if somebody who's 5'6", 119, 121 pounds, and would have a VO2 max of high, and we can see it happen potentially.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Hi, Meb. My name is Katie. It's really nice to meet you. I've been a longtime fan, so it's really cool that you're here at Google. In full disclosure, I work on the lifestyle fashion team here, and Skechers is one of my clients. So I can attest to the fact that they really do love you at Skechers, and they're so proud of you. So my question is kind of twofold. The first is, how important is it to have the right equipment? And what impact does having the wrong equipment make? And then also, when you signed with Skechers, what was the feedback you got from the running community? Because they're not a Nike or, maybe one of the more serious brands, at least back then. Hopefully that will change. But I'm just curious about how you choose a sponsor and how important the equipment is.
Great, thanks, Katie. Nice to meet you. And choosing a sponsorship is huge, and for me, I have to be very authentic. In fact, with Skechers, we met with them in January of 2011, 2011, and I met with Robert Greenberg and Michael Greenberg, and it says, I need more a partnership than sponsorship, because I really believe I have half marathon and marathon PRs. I can't guarantee you in the 5K, 10K that might be behind me, but I need you to help me design the shoes. So, there was a shoes called Pro Speed that I use, and just recreational, and they're like, I ran 20 miles. They're like, you did? And we use that, and then basically, as you can see in the picture, the Go MEB Speed 3 there, we probably made like 40 pair of shoes with that before that final one there. We had the Go MEB Speed 3. I helped them design the firmness. Then we eventually even put carbon fiber in it to make it stiffer, lightweight, and very narrow. And so it was, the tongue, where you kind of land and then kind of come up. It was so low that I have to give input. It says you need that roll off, and then we have to work from the lacing, how long the lace should be, and it was kind of starting from scratch. And also, when you tie the shoes, there's more ripple, almost like crunched up. So we have to make sure we smooth it out, and so it was a lot of work. But they want my input. I gave them my input, and to run a personal best the first time where I ran New York City Marathon, not many people remember, but I'm like pointing at the clock. I said I ran faster than I ever did, and then eventually win the trials and going to the Olympic, finishing fourth. So it says a lot about them. It also says a lot about me, to teamwork or partnership, to be able to just achieve. And what do people say when I first wore Skechers? They were very skeptical. Some people are still skeptical. And I see me in my trunk of my car. It says, do you really wear Skechers? I'm like, I just pop the trunk, and there's like gazillion pairs there. So, and then sometimes I remember this vivid moment. It was Christmas, probably 2012 or 2011. I was running on Christmas Day by my sister's house in San Diego. And the person goes, I can't believe I'm running with Meb. Is that really you? She's like, watch my watch, watch my socks, watch my shoes, Skechers. She's like, it is really you. So you do really wear Skechers. But every sponsor that I do, I'm very authentic. I try them out beforehand, and hopefully it's a win-win situation. And I hope to be a brand ambassador for them for a long time.
Thank you.
Thanks, Kate.
Hi, Meb. My name is Yufang, and I wanted to ask you a little bit about your perspective at the front of the field competing against the other elite athletes, and in particular, with the resurgence of American distance running in recent years, especially in the longer events, sometimes we see American athletes in the middle of the race surge to the front, hold the lead, and the announcers and such are super excited. We saw this year with Dathan and Desi in Boston and in other races, in the past. And I was curious as to your thoughts about, in terms of strategy, in terms of like what kind of goes on up front in the pack. You mentioned earlier you spoke Italian to the one guy. Like how much chatter happens up there? You guys are running at marathon pace, so it is not conversational, but like you guys can talk. So in spite of going extraordinary speeds. And so, I was curious about kind of your perspective up there, and how does strategy play into that while you guys are sort of working together, trying to account for the wind, surges, etc.
On full disclosure, I didn't see Desi's race, but she ran a great race from fourth place. In terms of Dathan, it's always encouraging to have your countrymen next to you. Just makes it a little bit easier. So if you find somebody from Google on a plane or something, you try to be able to talk to them, kind of, we work for the same company. You're more relaxed versus who's that person kind of thing. So similarly, that when you're running competing, you're trying to push the envelope, and Dathan came from behind, and I thought at one point he was struggling, or made a gap, and I didn't think he was going to catch up, and then he came and he went to the lead right away. And I'm like, that was tactically not the best thing, just because it was windy. If it was not windy, I would have been not forced, but encouraged to go with him and work as a team and dialogue. And the Ethiopian, in fact, were 4 of them. They were talking to each other, and I'm like, nope, I'm going to get close to you, because if you spread apart a little bit, they're going to encourage each other to go faster because you show them sign of struggle. But if you're next to them, then it's like, oh, we haven't really maxed this guy's out of his potential yet. So you have to, unwritten rules to be able to follow that. And then the Kenyans were doing the same thing, and you just whenever they're talking, the other Kenyans or Ethiopian, I just says, buckle your belt. There's going to be a big move coming sometime soon, so be ready. And Dathan ran well. I think it's always good to see, with the transition from 5K, 10K to the marathon, and Ryan Hall, we done that some last year, and Abdi, and Culpepper, and Abdurrahman, and Alan Culpepper. We used to do that ourselves, changing leads and this that work together, and it's always, there's no trash talking, but sometimes there's gestures because somebody kind of tap you from behind. You're like, be careful. And sometimes there's a lot of juggling between the fluid stations and things like that. So it's good to see the U.S. distance run be up in the front, just because hopefully I can be an example. Dina Kessler can be an example that we have one major, like she won London, Chicago, won Boston and New York, and Olympic medal, both of us, to say if we can do it. We all started here in the U.S. I might be born elsewhere, but all my training, all my stuff came here, so we can be an example with league champion, NCAA, and USA champion, and then, major marathon champion. So they can be, hey, if they can do it, we can do it.
Thanks a lot, Meb.
No problem.
Hey, good afternoon.
Hi.
Thank you for being here this afternoon. So I was out for a morning run not too long ago, and another runner synced up with me. And speaking of chatter, we got into a conversation, and they asked me if I was training for anything. And I said, no, I'm not. I've kind of decided not to do anything, terribly difficult this year. And it made me realize how much joy there is in that. Like, I didn't have to worry so much about, I have to always, beat this pace, or, you talked about the watch and, this equipment. I'm kind of curious how much you or people should let their equipment dictate to them, how much they should be pushing themselves or worrying about that, versus how often even you might get out to just run for the fun of it. We talked about kids. If you ever go to a playground with your kids, you just see all these kids running around. They're just active for the joy of it.
What's your name?
Ed.
Hey, Ed. And MEB for Mortals, that's what I try to portray. All the drills that I have in their illustrations, like being a kid again. Because sometimes we get so serious to train. I got to run this miles, and I got to do this, and I got to do that. But at the same time, there's days where in the evening runs, I'm not worried about pace. I'm just out for my evening runs, just enjoy the sunset or enjoy just a run at the beach and whatnot, because I'm not worried about time. But there's 3 times a week that probably I'm on the clock. Other than that, it's just pure joy. I love doing it, and I want to be able to, and I will have my watch on heart rate screen and try to guess what pace I'm going, and vice versa. I will have it on the pace and guess what my heart rate is. So you have to use technology to your advantage. See if you have recovered from the heart rate the day before, so by looking at heart rate. But then the other times it's just like, you know what, I'm not gonna see my watch for the next 3 miles. Mm-hmm. I just want to see my body, how it feels. And you kind of go from there. But yeah, being a kid, like you said, those drills and things like that, we are so going to go forward. We don't go lateral or backward. I mean, I don't know when the last time some of you guys went backward, Been a long time probably. So that's what the drills emphasize. We use the other muscles than just the front, and try to have fun at the same time.
Thanks so much.
No problem, Ed.
I think we have time for one more question. Yeah.
I'll make a short answer, sorry.
Hi, Meb. My name's Bridget, and my dad's a PE teacher, so I loved hearing your story about PE. It sounds like something he would say about how important it is for everyone, for your whole life, and how important it is to stay in schools. But you also talked about your coaches, you talked about your parents and their reaction to your racing. And I'm wondering, now that you're a parent and you have daughters, what do you want for them? Do you want them to be distance runners or Pele or none of the above?
Jordana's my wife, and I encourage them to do different sports. They already have participated in soccer. We want them to be outdoors, and we will support them to whatever their goal is. And if they do become runners, they're going to get good advice. But the middle one, Fiore, you can see a little bit, enthusiasm. You can see discipline and dedication. When I'm at the house, she's always following me. She's my assistant. Help me out, give me that, give me stretch with you, core with me, and planks with me, and all. So the other two, you kind of have to convince them to come in. But as long as, whether it's soccer or tennis or softball, whatever it is, hopefully they can be outdoor and participate. And but if I have to choose, I'll probably tell them to play tennis because I love tennis and watching it and whatnot. But as long running is lonely, it's hard work. Not that the other sports are not, but you have to have the self-discipline to be able to achieve those things. And but first and foremost, academics comes first because I did not give running a priority until I graduated from UCLA because I was one injury away, or I don't want to get injured, and you never know you're gonna make it. So, but my mom always says the person thinks it, God finishes it, and I just try to do the right things every time, and I've been overjoyed to what the running from physical education has taken me to do so around the world, and be able to write books and be able to enjoy the lifestyle of being fit, which is good for the head, for the mind, and for the body.
Great, thank you.
No problem.
Thank you, Meb. I think that's all we have time for. Will you be around after this time? You have time to sign, right?
Okay. Thank you.
You have time to sign books now, right?
Yeah.